In today's video at Medical Sciences, we want to discuss about immunology. Immunology is covered under pathology. We cover it under microbiology. So we want to see how does the body defend against infectious pathogens. That is what we call immunology, which is a branch of biology, which deals with the study of immune system. And this immune system is the one that confers the body protection against infectious diseases. And this immune system is divided into two, whereby the defense of the body against pathogenic microorganism or anything foreign is divided into innate and adaptive. And innate, you can call it inborn. It is inborn, or it is, so you are born with it. It is naturally occurring. Whereas adaptive, for it, it is acquired at a certain time. And why do we call it acquired? Because it is developed in the body after exposure to a foreign pathogen or a foreign antigen. That's when it develops, whereby it can, even after recovering from that infectious pathogen, it is able to keep memory so that the second time you cannot be disturbed so much. And this innate, which we are saying it is inborn, it is divided into two. That is the first line and the second line defense, whereby the first line is the body barriers. These are body barriers. These are body barriers, and they are we can divide them into two, whereby we can discuss about physical barriers and chemical barriers. We have what we call physical barriers and chemical barriers. And among the physical barriers, we shall have the intact skin. We shall have the hair and the mucous membrane. Mucous membranes that surrounds body organs and the epithelial lining. Then the intact skin on the surface is also a physical barrier which prevents entry of microorganisms or pathogens into the body. Even hair does that, then the mucous membranes. Then among the chemical barriers, we shall have body fluids. These ones are body fluids. And these body fluids include saliva in the mouth, produced by the salivary gland. We include body fluids like gastric juice, and this gastric juice, which contains hydrochloric acid, which also acts as a defense mechanism. We have tear from the eye. Whenever you're crying or tear is coming from the eyes, that is a defense. Even during urination, when you are passing out urine, it washes away microorganisms. So different body fluids, these ones contain chemical substances like lysozymes and IgA, and these lysozymes are the one that neutralizes the pathogenic microorganisms. So body fluids are always very important in the defense. So after looking at the first line, which we have seen, these are body barriers. These ones aim at preventing the pathogen from entering the body system. So the first line, we are saying it is the barrier that prevents pathogens from gaining entry, prevents pathogens from entering into the body. So they prevent entry of the pathogens. But in case the pathogen is able to overcome these chemical and physical barriers which are conferred by the first line, then the second line also comes into play, which is still under innate, whereby under the second line we shall see phagocytic cells, and these phagocytic cells include macrophages, they include neutrophils, eosinophils. All these are phagocytic cells. Even in the blood, the macrophage, they are monocytes. So these are phagocytic cells. Sometimes we can also add mast cells. And these cells, they are the one responsible for phagocytosis. These ones, they play a big role in phagocytosis. They play a big role in phagocytosis. Which is a body defense mechanism. And this one, we have said the second line comes into play when the invading pathogen has reached into the systemic saturation, which is dealt with by these phagocytic cells. And the interplay of these phagocytic cells can result into other body processes like inflammation, whereby inflammation is also part of innate immunity, which is always divided into acute and chronic inflammation. So process number one is phagocytosis, number two is inflammation, and number three is fixation of the complement system, whereby complement system, for it is responsible for different three things, whereby one, this complement system results into cytolysis, or cell lysis, results into cytolysis. It can result into opsonization, and it also can result into chemotaxis. So these are the second line defense mechanism of the body, whereby we can talk about phagocytosis by these phagocytic cells, then inflammation and complement system, which is the second line. And these macrophages in tissues, we find macrophages in tissues, they are named different, whereby if it is in the liver, we find there Kupffer cells, that is in the liver. In the kidney, we find there mesangial cells. In the lungs, we have alveolar macrophages. In the brain, we find there microglial cells as macrophages there. In the bones, we find there osteoclasts. So different organs have different macrophages which play a big role of phagocytosis by engulfing pathogenic microorganisms or pathogenic antigens. So this one marks the end of innate immunity, whereby we have talked about first line and second line, and we have said the first line prevents the pathogen from entering into the body system. But when it escapes the first line, we see the second line coming into play to fight the microorganisms which have entered into the systemic, whereby we have seen three processes: phagocytosis, inflammation, and complement system, which we shall see at a later run that the complement system has different cascades, whereby we shall have the classical pathway, we shall have alternative complement system, and we shall have also lecithin, lectin. It has three pathways, which we shall talk about them in the coming video. So after ending innate immunity, then now we can talk about adaptive, or what we call acquired. And this acquired, we said, it comes after exposure. It is not inborn, but when you are exposed, the body develops the mechanism to defend this against this invading pathogen. And this one can either be active or passive. So we shall tell you that innate, the acquired immunity, can be either active or passive, depending on how it is acquired, which we shall see at the long run. And this adaptive immunity is also classified into two, whereby it is classified into humoral. It is classified as humoral and cell mediated. Cell mediated. So these are the two categories of adaptive immunity. And under humoral, we shall see in humoral immunity, we see the cells involved are the B lymphocytes. The B lymphocytes are the ones that are involved in this type of immunity, whereby these B lymphocytes, which mature into the inversa of fabricus within the bone marrow, they are responsible, whereby they are triggered and proliferate into what we call plasma cells. They proliferate into plasma cells and chronocells, B chronocells. And these plasma cells, once it differentiates into plasma cells and B chronocells, whereby these plasma cells, when triggered by interleukins, like interleukin 5 and 6, they are able to produce antibodies, or what we call immunoglobulins. And these antibodies, we have different classes of immunoglobulins or antibodies, whereby we have IgG, we have IgG, we have IgM, we have IgA, we have IgE, and IgD, whereby IgG is responsible for secondary immune response. This is for secondary immune response. Then IgM is known for primary immune response. This one is found in the body secretions. This one, IgE, is the one that is found on the surface of mast cells and so forth, which we shall look at as a topic on its own under immunoglobulins, which are produced by the plasma cells. Whereas the B chrono, the chronocells, for them they proliferate to produce memory cells. And these memory cells are the ones that keep memory, so that the body remembers that you once suffered against. If you had suffered malaria for the first time, the body will proliferate into antibodies that will fight against malaria and also form the memory cells. And it will keep that in case the second time of exposure, these memory cells will remind the body and will come and fight immediately against this disease. That's why this one is the hallmark of immunization, what we call active immunization, by giving vaccines. Then lastly, we can discuss about cell-mediated immunity, whereby under cell-mediated immunity we have the cell which is playing this is T lymphocyte. And these T lymphocytes, for them, they are produced from the bone marrow, but they mature in the thymus. This one produced in the bone marrow and matures in the bone marrow. But T lymphocytes produced in the bone marrow and matures in the thymus. And these T lymphocytes, they also they differentiate into three, whereby we shall have what we call T helper cells. We have T helper cells. We have T cytotoxic. And also we have what we call T regulatory or T suppressor. You can call them T regulatory or T suppressor cells, where the T helper cells, they always have a domain of CD4, so they are known as CD4 positive. These ones are CD4 positive cells, whereas C cytotoxic, they are CD8 positive cells, whereby the T helper cells, for them, they are responsible for doing, it is the one that links the cellular mediated immunity, whereby it can activate the macrophages or the macrophages and the natural killer cells. It activates macrophages and the natural killer cells to kill the virus or the tumor infected cell, or it can also produce interleukins that triggers the B lymphocyte that activates B cells to release antibodies and the memory cells. That is the CD4. So CD4 links both the cytotoxic and the macrophages, whereas the CD8, or which we call T cytotoxic, for them they kill. The CD4, for them they mark the infected cells. They mark or opsonize. These ones mark, or they do what we call opsonize. They opsonize infected cells via major histocompatibility complex type 2, which we shall talk about in details in the coming video. Whereas these C cytotoxic, for them the cells presented at major histocompatibility complex type 1, and they are responsible for killing. For them, they kill the infected cells. These ones kill infected, can be viral infected, or tumor infected, or bacterial invaded cells, and for them they're responsible for killing. These ones mark, then these ones come and kill. Whereas the T suppressor, they are the one that regulate. They are believed to produce cytokines, and these cytokines are the one that regulate. They are the one that regulate the action of the T helper and the T cytotoxic cells. So this is what we have summarized under adaptive or acquired immunity, where we have talked about humoral and cell-mediated, whereby humoral is mediated by the B lymphocytes, then cell-mediated by the T lymphocytes. We have seen how they can differentiate to give plasma cells and B clonal cells, which produce memory cells, and antibodies, which neutralize the antigens. Then we have seen the T lymphocytes, which are produced by the bone marrow and mature in the thymus, differentiating into T helper, or known as CD4 positive cells, which opsonize or mark the infected cells, and they can also stimulate B cells to produce antibodies. Whereas the cytotoxic, we have seen, for them they kill the infected cells, either tumor cells or viral infected cells. Then also T suppressor or T regulatory, that regulates the action of T helper and T-cytotoxic. Thank you so much for following us, for learning with us until the end. Hope you have gained a lot. Thank you so much.